Please find your seats. Please stand for the arrival of the Honorable Robert Tongue, who's representing the office of the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Please remain standing for the arrival of His Excellency, Mr. Charles Savre, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mrs. Savre. Please remain standing for the presentation of the colors.
Color party, shirt, shoulder, arms. Presidential salute. Present and
Isle of beauty, isle of splendor, isle to all so sweet and fair. All must surely gaze in wonder at thy gifts so rich and rare. Rivers, valleys, hills, and mountains, all these gifts we do extol. Healthy and so like all fountains, giving cheer that warms the soul. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights, o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
On est parti. Shoulder, arms.
Thank you, Ms. Roll and Ms. Wankwo Marshall, for your beautiful renditions of the national anthems. Please remain standing for the morning prayer of the physician given by Dr. Ricardo Hood.
Good afternoon. The morning prayer of the physician. God, let my mind be ever clear and enlightened. By the bedside of the patient, let no alien thought deflected. Let everything that experience and scholarship have taught it be present in it and hinder it not in its tranquil work. For great and noble are those scientific judgments that serve the purpose of preserving the health and lives of thy creatures. Keep far from me the delusion that I can accomplish all things. Give me the strength, the will, and the opportunity to amplify my knowledge, which yesterday I would not have dreamt of. For the art is great, but the human mind presses untiringly. In the patient, let me ever see only the man. Thou, O bountiful one, hast chosen me to watch over the life and death of thy creatures. I prepare myself now for my calling. Stand thou by me in this great task, so that it may prosper. For without thine aid, man prospers not, even in the smallest things.
Thank you, Dr. Hood. After a beautiful introduction, let me officially welcome everyone to the Ross University School of Medicine White Coat Ceremony for the class of 2020. You may be seated. I have the privilege at this time to welcome His Worship Titus Francis, the Mayor of the town of Portsmouth.
Good afternoon. Let me firstly recognize His Excellency Charles Savarin, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mrs. Savarin. Honorable Tong, Robert Tong, sitting in here for the Prime Minister was the Minister of Tourism. I also recognize Dr. Flaherty, who is Dean and Chancellor, not Vice Chancellor, Dean of Ross University. I also recognize Dr. Stanley White, who is the Senior Associate Dean of the Dominica campus. Let me also recognize a number of senior executive officers at Ross University. Mr. Peter Gertz, Dr. Paula Wales. I must mention Dr. Rios and every other member of the head table. But more importantly, let me recognize the students who are here this afternoon, beginning a noble journey towards becoming physicians. The task for me this afternoon, I thought would have been for me to recognize you to Portsmouth as the Mayor of Portsmouth. But the Honorable Minister of Trade and Employment, who is also the parliamentary representative for Portsmouth, for the Portsmouth constituency, is out of state, and he asked me to do the welcome remarks on his behalf. I am not here as the minister. So to say welcome to Dominica is relatively easy. But I think it is very important that you have chosen Ross University as your school of choice. But more importantly, you have also chosen to come to Dominica. We refer to ourselves as the nature island of the Caribbean, and we extend it to say that we're nature island of the world. While you're at Ross University, your main goal will be to become physicians. I urge you from the onset to focus on your studies, focus on your work, but at the same time, there's also going to be an opportunity for you to let your hair down, so to speak. And that is where Dominica becomes the gem. There are a number of historic, scenic sites for you to visit. You may have seen some of them already, but I urge you in your free time, as groups, as individuals, to get to know Dominica. Visit the Kalinago territory. Visit our historic sites, even in Portsmouth. We have the Cabritz National Park. We have in Just further north, the Capuchin Heritage Site, which is the Cana Park, and a number of beautiful natural sites, including the Indian River, which is close by. I invite you to acquaint yourself with one of the most pleasant people in the world, Dominicans. We never hasten to say good morning or hello or even a nod. We recognize you. And for that, we are pleased to be part of your journey towards becoming a physician. But more importantly, I want to say that we recognize Ross University in Dominica, and more particularly in Portsmouth. The contribution that Ross has made to the national economy, as well as the local economy, can never go unnoticed. We have seen a number of peasants become landlords. A number of young aspiring entrepreneurs have become successful business people as a result of Ross University. We recognize that. We recognize your contribution also to the social life in Dominica, and the commingling of people of diverse background is critical in developing Dominica as a nation, a developing country in itself. And we appreciate your presence for that. The contribution towards the national economy, as I've said, is very, very important for Dominica. And we can term that as a new aspect of tourism and call that meditourism. And while I am not speaking on behalf of the government, but I'm sure the government will take every opportunity that presents itself to collaborate with Ross University to expand the influence, the impact, and the contribution of Ross University on the national economy. In Portsmouth, we invite you to visit the market on a Saturday. It's a very social environment. People interact, people share the latest news, a little bit of gossip that you shouldn't pay attention to. But that is how our culture has evolved. And I invite you to learn a bit of that cultural impact, even as physicians, that you will need when you get into your real practice. Having said that, I wish to say welcome to Dominica, welcome to Portsmouth, and welcome to Ross University. Thank you very much.
Thank you, His Worship Titus Francis, for your very warm and heartfelt welcome to our beautiful island of Dominica. Now, I would like to welcome to the podium Dr. Joseph Flaherty, the Chancellor and Executive Dean of Ross University School of Medicine. He's your dean. Dr. Flaherty.
Good afternoon. How many are excited to be here? I would love to steal Dr. Wales' great lines and go through. How many of you are from? You own that. That's for you. Okay, I'll put it back when I'm done. So welcome. Welcome here to Ross. Welcome to Dominica. We do pride ourselves, as Titus Francis said, in the diversity of our school as well. Dr. Wales will talk a little more about that because, can I say this one thing? We usually have an entering class that speaks maybe many languages, many 45 or 55, depending on the class. But today is really a new high because I saw in the upper right corner there some 8 and 9-year-olds that have come to start medical school. So we're extending that diversity to age. I see in the front row some people not as old as me, but certainly, so we're trying to expand it to age, et cetera. But in a larger sense, one of the things I want to say, having spent many years in Chicago and having known President Barack Obama when he was a state senator, I invited him every year to our white coat and every year to our graduation. He was too busy. President of Dominica comes here. Take that as a very important and serious sign, as do many other ministers of the state. They are invested in you. They're invested in Ross. They're invested as you. And so are we. Every one of you should make it. I also want to say we have an outstanding faculty. Just a great, committed group of people. Nancy Selfridge will talk, Dr. Hood talked. I should have also mentioned Dr. Allison Dombey, who's one of the senior associate deans that also leads the faculty with Dr. Stanley White, a great group. And finally, we have a great group of students in you. It's tough. It's been a rough road to get here. How many of you had not heard of Dominica before you found out about it in the application to medical school? Okay? Now you're here. Go out and tell the world about it. It is a unique country. And many of you did not plan on leaving home or so far from home or your home country, except for some of you Canadians. How many Canadians? No, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. What do you need to do to make it? I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not using hyperbole when I say every one of you can make it. We do look at your MCAT scores, your grades, your grade point average, what you did in college, your letters of recommendation. We interview all of you. Every one of you can make it. And every year for the last 5 years, we've reduced the attrition. So more and more of you are making it. So you've got to hang in there. You've got to seek help. And probably more than anything, you've got to study. There's no quick way around it. You have to get, not just studying, you got to get into a rhythm. You got to know where you study best, how you study best. Here's a hint. Don't spend most of your time or more than 15% of your time studying in group study, because that isn't as effective, because you're always talking about everything else. You got to lock yourself into an area in your room, in the library, in one of the study areas, and just go at it. Also, while you're doing it, keep in touch with your family and friends. They're the ones that got you here. As much as you like to think you're independent, they're the ones that are going to be at your side. And then finally, look to us for help. We've really beefed up our Center for Teaching and Learning. We have a very committed faculty, every one of which would be willing to talk with you. We have great student services, so you've got to come to us, and then you really have to just gut it out. You have to persevere. Sometimes I tell this story. I always have to watch which stories I tell, because Dr. Wales edits me when she sees me going in a wrong direction and telling tales of my medical school days. But at one point in January of my first year of medical school, I dropped out. I had it. I mean, I was bored with it. I was studying gastrointestinal physiology. And I don't think there's anything as boring as that. And it was all about the muscles of the throat and where the bolus of the food goes and which contract and which, relax, and then what happens, and acid, yada, 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 yada. And I said, this just is, I'm not going to spend the next 4 years doing this. And I left. I left for 10 days, And I realized, hold it, I want to be a doctor. That's, and this is the poison pill you have to swallow. I came back to Chicago. My roommate, Gary Turner, had sold all of my textbook and then spent the money. So I had to kind of start over again. But I found out one important lesson that you should find out. You don't need to do what I did to find out. You have to just persevere. There are going to be times where it seems like I don't get this at all. There are going to be times where it seems there is just too much to learn, and there is. The first hard thing you have to come to grips with, this is not geometry in high school. You will not learn everything. You will not learn everything. There's not a finite amount to swallow up, digest, and assimilate into your body and brain. You'll learn as much as you can. You'll relearn it later. If you're really good, and we're really good, you'll develop a lifetime capacity for learning and keeping up and relearning. And you'll do it throughout your clinical years and into your residency and into the rest of your life. It is difficult, though. You do have to persevere, and you have to pace yourself. You have to have something good every day. You know, you have to have something where you say, I'm going to study till 8 o'clock, then I'm taking an hour break. Then I'll study 9 to 12. You know, when that hour break is exercise, meditation, talking with friends, FaceTime home, whatever it is you need to do it. Just kind of keep up. You've got to eat and you've got to sleep. It's a proven fact, if you don't sleep, your memory doesn't retain things. So please don't think, you know, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not going to be learned by a couple all-nighters. It's going to be learned over a long period of time. So you're in to do it. We really welcome you. We really want to stress how much we will support you, how much we'll try to help you get through this. So welcome, thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Flaherty. At this time, I'd like to introduce our Vice Dean of Ross University School of Medicine, Mr. Peter Getz, who will introduce our visiting dignitaries. Peter.
Wow, I'm tall.
I feel that way too.
The secret of Dr. Wales, vertically challenged. But my dear friend, you know, when Dr. Flaherty told the story about constantly trying to get a member of the House of Representatives from Illinois to come to White Coat, he wasn't completely honest. It wasn't Barack Obama, it was Abraham Lincoln. On that note, we would like to welcome, in all seriousness, our dignitaries. Once again, His Excellency Charles Savaret, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Mrs. Charles Savaret, wife of the President, Commonwealth of Dominica. The Honorable Robert Tongue, representing the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica. The Honorable Robert Tongue is also the Minister for Tourism and Urban Renewal. Honorable Dr. Kenneth Darrow, Minister for Health and Environment. Dr. Darrow, make it here? Okay. And once again, His Worship Titus Francis, Mayor of Portsmouth, my lunchmate and great conversationalist, Dr. David Johnson, Chief Medical Officer, Ministry of Health. Dr. Johnson, welcome. And the chairwoman of the Dominica Medical Board, our accreditor, Dr. Binta Lambert, as well. Thank you. Also, I'd like to make one special introduction. Next week, we're going to be doing a formal farewell of two people that have meant as much to this university as any two over time. And that's our Dean Emeritus, Dr. George Rios, and his wife, Barbara Rios, who have been with us for quite a long time. I guess officially this is your last white coat, but his last white coat. You'll keep coming, Barbara? No, you won't let George come. But let's give a hand to Dr. Rios, please. And finally, we want to welcome all of you, our students. And Dr. Wales will tell you more about yourselves in just a moment, as you've heard earlier. But also, let's welcome your faculty, your staff, your friends and family who are here, and welcome to your friends and family who are watching live online from around not just Dominica, not just the Caribbean, not just the US or Canada, but around the entire world. Let's welcome them. To the class of 2020, I wish you all the best of luck and a great career here. Welcome. And now Dr. Wales to continue the presentation.
Thank you. So I won't go through the list again, but I do want to, as the Senior Associate Dean for Students, extend a special welcome to the class of 2020. We are thrilled that you're here. And so I want to share a little bit of information with you. So as you may know, Ross University School of Medicine has one purpose, one mission, one dream. And that is, we want to give you the opportunity to fulfill your dream of becoming a physician and healer. Since 1978, more than 12,000 students have graduated with their MD from Ross. Additionally, over the last 10 years, Ross has placed more graduates into U.S. residency slots than any other medical school in the world. That's so important. I'm going to slow down and say it again, right? Over the past 10 years, Ross University has placed more graduates in U.S. residency slots than any other medical school in the world. Boom. So, we can and do make dreams come true. And we are very proud of the diversity of our students, who represent many cultures, religions, and ethnic backgrounds. So we are simply delighted to welcome your class. All right, so you had a preview. You know I'm going to share some information with you. Here we go. 56% of our incoming class are male, 44% female. Yeah, so depending on how you like that, okay. I'm not going to comment. I couldn't figure out any comment that was appropriate, so I'm just not going to say anything. Your average age, and I did not include the 8 or 9-year-olds in the back, your average age is 26, all right? You range in age from 20 to 43. So we're not going to ask anyone to raise hands. Your average undergraduate GPA is a 3.2, right? And your average MCAT is a 25 on the old scale and a 494 on the new. Yeah. Okay, so now is where it might start to get a little competitive, right? So if you feel compelled to cheer for a group that resonates with you, you're invited to do so, okay? Ready? There's a two-way tie for the undergraduate university sending the most graduates to your class, and the tie is between the University of Maryland at College Park, all right, and Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey. Ooh, Rutgers was louder. All right, let's see where we go next. There's a three-way tie between the schools sending the next highest number of students to your class, and that three-way tie is between University of California, Los Angeles, loudest group yet, Florida International, and Florida Atlantic University. Good. Thank you, good try. And rounding out the top 10 in terms of, or the top schools in terms of the highest number of graduates sent to your class, we have a four-way tie between McMaster University. Yeah. All right. Another Canadian school, University of Toronto. University of South Florida. Should I read that again? University of South Florida. All right. And the State University of New York at Stony Brook. All right. Okay, this is where we get serious. The most common first name in your class is Christopher. Boom. All right. There's a four-way tie between the next most common first name in your class, and the tie is between Alexander, woo, Cassandra, Oh, Andrew. Woo. And Christian. Okay, all right. The most common last name in your class is? Ready? Sing. I just heard it. Boom. The second most common last name in your class is Patel. It is also the most common last name for the second and fourth semesters as well. Now get this, there's a 7-way tie for the third most common last name in your class. And this is really important. So listen to these names because it really reflects the diversity in the room, okay? So this is a 7-way tie between Davis, no cheers for Davis, Hussein, yeah, Anderson, Ahmed, yeah, all right, there we go, Snyder, Charles, and Khan, yeah. I expected a lot more enthusiasm with the reading of each of these names, so we're going to move on to another category. All right. The point of all that was please be sure to use your first and last names as well as your banner ID in all official communications, okay? As a class, you were born in 35 unique countries. 148 of you were born in the United States. 18 of you were born in India. 12 in Canada. Loudest group yet. 8 in Pakistan. 6 in Nigeria. And then the remainder of you were born in 30 other countries. Right? In terms of U.S. residents, 38 of you are from California. Wow. Okay. 28 of you are from Florida. 28 from New York. And 20 from Dr. Flaherty's home state, Illinois. Okay. In terms of the most represented Canadian province, we have Ontario. Members of the incoming class have participated in a diverse array of activities. More than 110 of you have volunteered at hospitals or clinics. 20 of you have volunteered with nonprofit charities and organizations. 11 of you, I think this number may be low, but 11 of you reported participating in pre-med organizations. Listen to this number. 81 of you are athletes, right? We have football players, we have lifeguards, we have basketball players, we have coaches, we have Zumba fitness instructors, we have soccer players, we even have ultimate frisbee players. Cool. All right. 23 of you are members of fraternities and sororities, and several of you are musicians. We have singers in the group, including a cappella singers, and we have students who play the drums. I expected like a, come on, stay with me here. Okay, thank you. Piano, saxophone, and flute. I like that one. I thought that was nice. And this is the first time I've seen this. 2 of you are glass blowers. Right? How cool is that? Okay. So your fellow classmates come to us with interesting prior occupations and experiences. Members of your class include 66 medical professionals. So find those folks when you're studying, right? In this group, we have pharmacy technicians, we have RNs, we have laboratory technologists, we have scribes, and we have medical and nursing assistants. This is for the faculty. 50 of these folks were teachers, teaching assistants, or tutors. How cool is that? One of you was a choreographer, and another was an actress. I thought that was pretty cool. So we even, speaking of actresses, we even have a few celebrities in the class, right? One student is a power lifter. I thought that was nothing from this group. One of you is a Gates Millennium Scholar. And one of you, now this is really interesting, participated on the Dr. Oz show. See? So So the point of all that is we welcome you and we celebrate your diversity. We're very glad you're here. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Stanley White, our Senior Associate Dean for the Dominica campus, to the podium to introduce our keynote speaker. Dr. White.
Thank you, Dr. Wales. I think that one of the most enjoyable parts of these white coat ceremonies is the opportunity that we have to bring someone back to the island who, once upon a time, was sitting in the same seats as you, sharing the same sorts of feelings and ambitions. And this year's White Coat keynote speaker is Dr. Jason Lester, MD, MBA, EP. Jason is a son of San Dimas, California, and he graduated in biochemistry from the University of California, Riverside in 2000, before coming to Ross. At Ross, he was an exemplary student, so he told me last night. He was very heavily involved in many activities. He was an Honors Council class representative. He was class president for 2 semesters. He was an anatomy teaching assistant and founder of the Neuroscience Teaching Assistance Program. He completed his 3rd year at Kern Medical Center and graduated with highest honors in 2006. Also in 2006, as though he didn't have enough to do, he graduated with an MBA from Phoenix University. He matched in 2009 and completed in emergency medicine at St. Vincent's Mercy Medical Center in Toledo. And he became board certified in emergency medicine in 2010. He's worked as a clinical instructor of emergency medicine at Genesis Regional Medical Center in Michigan. And for over 4 years after 4 years, was drawn back to his residency roots to become the current assistant medical director of their satellite hospital, Mercy St. Charles, and will be returning there this year as a clinical instructor. In medical education, we often, and in education generally, we often talk about the concept of value added. That's something that comes out of an experience which is far bigger than one would have predicted going in. And in that sense, we really gave Dr. Lester great value added because we didn't only provide him with the opportunity which he grasped and succeeded in, one of becoming a doctor, we also gave him the opportunity to meet his future wife, who is Dr. Ixi Ramirez, a former white coat speaker, and is sitting next to him. So welcome to both of you. She is a pediatric pulmonologist at the University of Michigan, and they successfully used the couples match. Dr. Lester is a fellow of the American College of Emergency Physicians. He's a diplomat of the American Board of Emergency Medicine and a diplomat of the National Board of Medical Examiners. He's published extensively and presented extensively in the field of emergency medicine. And unlike many of our past graduates, he comes back to the island at every opportunity because he's an extremely avid outdoors type and a diver. So with that, I'd like to welcome Dr. Lester to the podium to deliver this year's White Coat keynote address. Dr. Lester.
Well, thank you, Dr. White, for that awesome introduction. Thank you so much. Well, good afternoon, and welcome faculty, staff, distinguished guests, and of course, our new student. This year marks the 10-year anniversary for my graduating from Ross University and I'm very excited and honored to be here with you guys today. Ross University and this island of Dominica hold a special place in my heart for many reasons. Not only did I receive Not only did I receive an excellent education that has led to my amazing career as an emergency medicine physician, this is where I met my beautiful wife, Dr. Ixie Ramirez, who is here with us today. Thank you. This is an exciting new time for each and every one of you. Congratulations, you've made it to medical school. Cherish this moment. For many of you, you have been dreaming this since you were a little kid. Every new student sitting here can let that dream now develop into reality and let your stories of success commence today. However, taking this new step in your life comes with many challenges. For many of you, this is your first time away from home. For others, you are all coming from various and different and distinguished backgrounds. But the one thing that will bring you all together for this one common goal is the white coat. See about white coat? Cloaking of the white coat is now considered a rite of passage, and coupled with the Hippocratic Oath, represents the pledge and dedication to becoming a physician and the patients you have the privilege to serve. Interestingly, the white coat ceremony is a relatively new tradition, with the first commencing in 1989. The white coat is a symbol of your drive and dedication to the field of medicine. Some of you may not have realized this, but you all have been afforded 2 gifts in beginning your quest here at Ross University. Obviously, the first is being able to study medicine at this great university with all the resources that rival any other medical school in the world. I have seen some of these new resources, and I have to admit, I'm pretty jealous. I'm pretty jealous of the changes that have been made over the past 10, 12 years since I've been here. From the multiple medical simulation bays, the medical imaging lab, the state-of-the-art anatomy lab, and the new student resource center, you have every up-to-date resource all within your reach. Also, your food options are so amazing and diverse now. Wow. I even had to order off a menu that was digital. It's just amazing, the evolution of things here at Ross. Oops. The second gift that you guys have been forwarded here is the gift of Dominica. Dominica has been the gracious host of Ross University since 1978. 38 years later, the symbiotic relationship is as strong as ever. Being able to study on this lush tropical island is a blessing in disguise. The local community here is filled with great traditions and resources to help make your stay very wonderful. Be open to them. One of the strong points of becoming a physician is developing relationships, and making new friends in a new country is one of the greatest feelings you can have. Do so with the people here and make yourself be remembered. I challenge all of you when you leave here to at least leave with 3 Dominican friends. In addition, make sure you take time to see the island and explore all of its natural resources, for it is the nature island of the Caribbean, or arguably the world. Of note, I've interacted with lots of graduates from my class and then following classes, and that's the one thing everyone wishes they can do is come back to Dominica. I told them there's no reason why you couldn't, but so. Obviously, there is a point to all this, and that is becoming a physician. The pursuit of a medical degree is a daunting one. This is medical school, with this discipline being one of the most challenging and demanding. If you realize this and respect this and dedicate yourself, your time here will be fruitful, and the steps to graduating and earning that longer white coat will become much easier. There's a few of them, too, for all you guys. Earning your medical degree will come with many emotions and even more responsibilities. Trust us, we know. We had our graduation, our wedding, a honeymoon, we closed our mortgage on our first house, and started residency all within the same month. Well, there's one more, the kicker here. 9 months later, we had our first child. So, the privileges a medical degree gives you will follow you wherever you go. From seeing patients in the emergency room, to the clinic, to the operating room, to the top of a mountain during a ski vacation, even to the grocery store. Respect this position and the people you serve, and the rewards will be endless. From this day forward, I ask of you 4 things. Consider them my pearls of wisdom for professional development, things that I've learned over the past 10, 12 years. And by the way, we'll give you a quiz at the end because that's what we like to do is test you. We have Scantrons ready for them? Yeah. Are we still even using Scantrons? Are we Scantrons? Because that's... So number one, be adaptive. From the beginning, a new life in a new country, to starting clinical rotations, and even into residency, there will be constant change and the need for adapting to new environments. This may be hard for many of you, but understanding this process and preparing for these changes will always make this transition easier. Some of the changes are a necessary means to an end, but try to remain open-minded and enjoy the process. This road trip will always have bumps. It's ultimately your decision on how you respond and adapt to them. Number 2, be responsible and be accountable. The responsible part is pretty straightforward. You're all sitting here, ready to start medical school, so I think you got that one down pretty good, pretty good. My one comment would be to say is, if you tell someone that you're going to do something, please do it. If not, communicate, why not? In addition, be accountable for your actions. If you make a mistake, which we all do, admit it, correct it if you can, and move on. People will be more willing to forgive any admitted mistake than any type of deception. Number 3, become involved. Every step of this road trip will allow opportunity to do something extra. I was fortunate to be a teaching assistant for both anatomy and neuroscience and the second semester class president, which interestingly enough is where I met my wife. She was her first semester class president, and we actually met through politics during the first meeting. So, I don't think it went very well. Like, who's this guy? I'm like, but something worked though. I challenge you all to do something extra, and by doing this, it will enhance your education and your personal development. In addition, I am very happy to see that there's so many student clubs out there. There's so many options out there for you to be involved, not only on campus, but within the community. Some activities are even outside the realm of education, which always adds a great balance to everyone's life. More so, don't just take, give back wherever you can, whether it's in the community, to your fellow classmates, just if you can, give back. One caveat is, and a lot of people try to do this, especially with where we're coming from, don't overextend yourself. Kind of make a limit. It's always okay to say no. It's always okay to say no. Number 4, invest in people and develop relationships. This one is my favorite. There are many types of investments you can make in life, but investing in the people around you is the most important. Develop solid relationships, both personally and professionally. A great book for this is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, who emphasizes good listening skills and having a genuine interest in others. Couple this with the need for great communication skills, something that's now more paramount in medicine than ever before. Overall, take a 360-degree approach to this, and I guarantee you it will not only extend your career and keep a smile on your face, it'll keep a smile on the faces of people around you. Now, speaking of smiles, that was 4, I have a pearl for you. And that is about smiles. This one, I know, may be a little bit hokey, especially with an emoji up here on a white coat day. But I feel as people progress in their medical careers, smiling becomes less. I see between 30 and 40 patients a shift, plus their families. I have to develop positive rapport with each and every one of them within minutes. And I know the one thing I can always count on when I walk into a room to help set that off in the right direction is a smile. But on all aspects of life, from walking from class to class to the halls of the hospital, having a good, genuine smile and recognizing one another will always make you more memorable. In closing, be confident you have made the right decision in being here. Be proud of yourself and as a student of this university. Every day you spend working hard is a step in the right direction in achieving your goals. Live and write that story of success that you've been dreaming of. I am a proud graduate of Ross University School of Medicine and wish you all, our future colleagues, the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lester, for your inspiring words of wisdom for our students. This time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Nancy Selfridge. She is a professor and chair of the Department of Clinical Medicine and our Assistant Dean for Clinical Sciences. She will give us an introduction to the medical profession. Dr. Selfridge. And you can share my right. Thank you.
Can they see this? Can everyone see this? No? All I see is my face. I'm sorry, everyone. There we go. So, how many people have heard of Thomas Eakins before? Thomas Eakins, a famous realist American painter. And this is part of your cultural literacy, part of your education. And I'm sorry, I jumped right into this without saying welcome. Welcome to everybody. Okay, quick, rewind, fast forward, here we go again. So, Thomas Eakins painted a couple of, well, more than a couple of famous pictures, but here are some that are relevant to you. And this is the Gross Clinic. It's called Gross Clinic not because it's gross, which, I mean, there is something gross in there, but this is the subject of the title, Dr. Gross, a famous surgeon, and he's in the operating theater of the time. But what's interesting here, besides the fact that they're not wearing gloves or masks, is that they're all garbed in black, which was the traditional dress of the physician of the time. Now why? You should be generating hypotheses as I'm speaking. Dark clothes hide a multitude of really pretty horrible things like blood and other body fluids. And then Thomas Eakins painted another picture, and if you look at the date on this, it's only 14 years later, of another famous surgeon, Dr. Agnew, again in the operating theater, but look how the dress has changed dramatically. And now everyone attending the patient is wearing white. And this was keeping in with some of the changes that were happening historically. Notions of the disease theory of the germ theory of disease, and our notions of cleanliness and purity. So the white, as the garb of the physician, became the norm. Now, what does it mean for you now? Some of you are saying, "Oh, she sneaked into my apartment this morning and took a picture. That's creepy." But in fact, I got this off of social media, and that's kind of creepy too. At any rate, today is the very last day you're going to wear your white coat in celebration. After this, it becomes work clothes. And what does that mean for you? Well, this is going to be a form of team uniform. When you put your white coat on, you're a member of a much larger team. Many of those people also wear white, but other colors as well now. A cloak of healing and a garment of trust, those are symbolic. It's what the white coat means to a lot of people. A child frightener, something you'll find out, and that's why a lot of pediatricians abandon wearing their white coat when they finally get into clinical practice. It's impractical. Pajamas. I guarantee you will wear your white coat all night long and potentially sleep in it, possibly standing up. If you can't figure out how to make a pillow of your white coat, come and see me. I'll show you how to fold it and roll it carefully so that it looks like it's still ironed after you lay your head on it for a few hours. A blankie, I really meant this in terms of a security blanket, because this does become part and parcel of our identity. And when we put it on, well, I hope one day it makes you feel secure in yourself and in the skills that you've learned here. Snark repellent. Why did I put this? When we put our white coats on, we're donning our professional identity. You've already heard me say that your professional identity becomes a 24/7 proposition. But your white coat should serve as an example to you, or as a reminder to you, that you're going to go and see patients. And no matter what's happening in the full catastrophe of your life, you're not going to be snarky. A hazmat suit, the untold horrors about which you're going to learn in microbiology. But your white coat will collect this, so please wash it regularly. A sauna, that's if you're in the tropics, but I actually used mine for insulation because I worked in Wisconsin. A shield and coat of mail. What sort of battle are we doing? I would say we're doing battling against human suffering. Our battle is against human suffering. An indicator that it's time to do the laundry, just like running out of clean underwear. And the ironing, yes, your white coat will remind you of that. A white shoulder to collect the tears of our patients and potentially our colleagues. Strong white arms of support for the same. And a symbol of expectations, our expectations of ourselves, but also the expectations that our patients and other people have for us. And so a little walk through history to look at some of those expectations. Plato, a long time ago, said, "Is it not also true that no physician considers or enjoins what is good for the physician's interest, but that all seek the good of their patients?" It's a great deal of selflessness. Blaise Pascal is a French mathematician and philosopher. He said this, "We like security. We like the Pope to be infallible in matters of faith and doctors to be so in moral questions so that we can be assured." Now think about this. This is not just your medical knowledge now. There's an expectation that you will also be infallible in questions of moral value. Then there's Voltaire, and remember, he was a famous satirist and author. So I don't know if he was being satirical with this statement. You decide for yourself. "Those who are occupied in the restoration of health to others by the joint exertion of skill and humanity are above all the great of earth. They even partake in divinity, since to preserve or renew is almost as noble as to create." So he's comparing us to divinity. Then Napoleon Bonaparte, he had something, I'll leave it to you to figure this out too. "Doctors will have more lives to answer for in the next world than even we generals." Now, I don't know if he's talking about responsibility for other people or deaths. Now, even though this fellow has a French-sounding name, he's Swiss, so you can't accuse me of being a Francophile. Henri Amiel was a poet and a philosopher, and he said this, "To me, the ideal doctor would be a man endowed with profound knowledge of life and of the soul, intuitively divining any suffering or disorder of whatever kind, and restoring peace by his mere presence." Well, we're going to teach you differential diagnosis, but we are not going to teach you intuitive divination. You're on your own with that one. Then we have Dr. Arthur Townsend. Dr. Arthur Townsend was a graduate of the Meharry Medical College, Nashville, Tennessee, around the time that you see here. He was one of our early black physicians in America, and he said this, "The good physician does all the good he can to all the people he can in all the ways he can," and I would add, probably all the time. That's a tall order. It's a lot of self-control. You've already seen a quote by Anna Quinlan earlier this week, and I'm just going to give it to you again. "By virtue of choosing the profession, we patients expect you to be better than the rest of us." And you have to think about what that means, better than the rest of us, in a lot of ways. And so that brings me to what our father of modern medicine had to say about practicing medicine. "Life is short, the art long, opportunity fleeting, experiment treacherous, judgment difficult. For the medical man," and I added, "and woman, sees terrible sights, touches unpleasant things, and the misfortunes of others bring a harvest of sorrows that are peculiarly his or hers. But the sick, by means of the art, rid themselves of the worst of evils, disease, suffering, pain, and death." So we see the plus and the minus of the practice of medicine. That brings me to a final quote from this fellow. Who is this? Tom Hanks. What's the movie? A League of Their Own. Yay, fantastic. And so just to sort of set up this quote, Tom Hanks in this film played a washed-out baseball player himself. He had an injury and he was now alcoholic, but he became the coach of a women's baseball team during World War II when a lot of men, eligible athletes for baseball, were away fighting the war. So women's baseball became extremely popular at the time. And there's a scene in this movie where his star player, catcher, played by Gina Davis, is leaving baseball. She's walking away from the game, never to return, at least so she believes. He comes running after her, and he stops her, and he says, "If you want to go home with your husband and make a lot of babies, that's fine with me, but you love this. I need to know why you're leaving." And she said to him, it just got too hard. And one day in the near future, I'd say within the next couple of years, you and I are going to pass one another on campus and greet one another, and by then hopefully I'll know your name, all of them. And I'm going to say, how's it going? And you're going to look up and say, well, it's going okay, but it's so hard. And I'm going to say to you what Tom Hanks said to Gina Davis at that moment. It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. The hard is what makes it great. So welcome everyone today to the hardness and the greatness of all of it.
Thank you, Dr. Selfridge. We will now commence with a very important and exciting activity of donning your coats and getting your pins. At the appropriate time, follow the directions of the ushers, okay? So this is your first test in medical school. We're all gonna do this together. What will happen is, we'll start in the back of the room, all right? An usher will release your row, you will stand up, right? Then you'll come down the center, right? You come down the center, and then you will go across to a pair of faculty. One faculty member will be in a white coat. They'll help you put your white coat on. The other will give you a pin. Then you go up the sides. You will be greeted by Dr. Flaherty or Dr. White, and they'll give you a scroll. You go back up and over to your seats, right? So we're going to run through this. We're just making 2 squares. That's all we're doing, right? We're standing up in the back. We're coming down the center aisle. We're going all the way over to a faculty pair. We're going back up the sides, shaking hands, getting a scroll, and going back to your seats, right? Everybody got this? Really easy, 2 squares. I have faith in this class. You're gonna do the best job yet, right? If you get lost while we're making these 2 squares, do what you'll do in medical school. Turn to your neighbor and get some help, okay? All right, and make sure you follow the directions of the ushers. All right, ushers, please lead us ahead. Congratulations to the class of 2020. Woo. Good luck as you start your medical education, and you all look splendid. I would now like to welcome to the podium the president of your Student Government Association, Mr. Mark Dolly, to the podium, please. He will lead you in reading the honor code and also make some remarks.
We'll just show up. So will it, I didn't practice this part, will it come up next? Well, while we're waiting, congratulations everybody. And so we're just waiting for it to come up on the screens and you'll be able to, I'll read it and you'll follow after me, that kind of thing. But as we're prepping for that, here we go. I just want to say, I hope each of you take this seriously. That you're never more than what your honor is. So as you go through this, it's not just words. I don't want it to just be, you're just saying it because it's there. I hope that you say it and you mean it. So, all right, so please repeat after me. Okay, everyone please stand. Yeah, and for just in my defense, this is normally covered by someone else, but I'm double dutying today. But doing great. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. So yeah, just go ahead, follow along with me. All right, as a student at Ross University School of Medicine, I, say your name, do hereby accept the honor system. I have received the student handbook and am fully aware of the honor code and Constitution and student code of conduct contained within. I agree to read and become familiar with the honor code and Constitution and the student code of conduct. Accordingly, I resolve to refrain from conducting myself in a manner that is unbecoming of a medical professional. I acknowledge that in support of the honor system, it is my responsibility to report any violations of the honor code or the student code of conduct. I understand that with any violation of the honor code or the student code of conduct, a plea of ignorance will not be acceptable. And the violation may result in my permanent dismissal from RUSM. I pledge that I shall endeavor at all times to create a spirit of honor of my chosen profession by upholding the honor system myself and helping others to do the same. All right, thank you. You may be seated. Well, I would just like to say hello to all of our honored guests, distinguished administration and faculty, and to you, the class of 2020. I'm honored to be able to share some thoughts with you today. I'm a fourth semester student here at Ross University, and I've been blessed to be here on this island with my beautiful wife and 4 wonderful children. So they're here with me at this time. I've been involved with club leadership and activities, the Ross Ambassador Program, and student government responsibilities, as well as being actively involved with my church, all of this while having a wife and 4 kids here. So people have often asked me, how do you do it? How are you able to balance everything? So I will share a couple of my secrets with you this afternoon. My 8th grade teacher, Mr. Greif, not only made learning science enjoyable, he taught me a thing or two about life. He offered extra credit to memorize some of his favorite poems, or favorite quotes. And for those who know me from back when, I was always a sucker for extra credit. So of course I memorized them. Little did I know at that point, though, the impact that his teaching philosophy and his quotes would have on me. So I would like to share just 2 of those quotes with you today, and how, if you follow them, they will help you to be successful medical students. The first one is a short quote from John Wayne. Does anyone even know who that is anymore? All right, so I know it's classic, right? John Wayne. And sorry, but it is not politically correct. He said, "Life's tough, but it's tougher if you're stupid." So now, I don't think that anybody is inherently stupid, especially not you here starting. You've had so many hoops to jump through to get to this point. You've proven yourself to not be stupid. That being said, even smart people do things from time to time that will impair their ability to succeed. Now, there are far too many stupid things to discuss at this point, but I would just like to bring up or identify a couple of impairments that I've seen in my fellow students. First is the thought that you can just do it on your own. Another favorite quote of mine states, "While a smart man learns from his mistakes, a wise man learns from someone else's." So you don't have to make all the mistakes on your own. You are not the first class to start medical school. I encourage you to meet upperclassmen, to figure out what they have done, what mistakes they made, what they found that works. And they will be able to help you to succeed. Now with that does not mean that anything they give you should overrule or be on top of what is given here, but they will be able to help supplement what is given through the faculty here. Also, I encourage you, make friends, study together, help each other. Second, if you find that you are struggling, don't just be tough or muscle through it. Medical school is inherently difficult. Couple that with being removed so far from family and friends, plus adapting to life in a new country, and it can become overwhelming. There is no shame in admitting that you need help. In fact, I think it is a sign of personal strength and resolve. So don't be stupid, and you are well on your way to success. Now, the second quote from Mr. Greif, it is called "The Man Who Thinks He Can," and it's by Walter Wintle. And in disclosure, I had to re-memorize this as an adult, but it's something that I did memorize in 8th grade. And it goes like this. It says, "If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win, but think you can't, it's almost a cinch that you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out in the world, we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever obtain the prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger and faster man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can." So, now for a confession on my part. I am not the smartest person in my class, not even close. Okay, a little background for me. I have a math degree with the bare minimum of core requirements to make it into medical school. I'd been out of school for 8 years before I decided to pursue medical education. Learning how to study again was hard, and especially with this kind of load. I kind of skirted through, you know what I mean? So this learning to study again, to push myself, was hard. Spending seemingly endless hours studying and still not mastering everything was disheartening. I remember multiple instances when friends would say something to the effect of, "I'm sure glad this is not the first time I'm seeing this." What we just covered in 1 hour was a couple weeks of undergrad lecture. Every time I heard that was the first time I had seen it. So I had some inherent difficulties to face. But from the beginning, I thought I could do it. After a particularly rough exam, when I scored much lower than I'd expected, I still thought I can do it. No matter what has been thrown at me, I still think I can do it. In life, it's not the number of times you get knocked down, but the number of times you get up and push on that matter. Do not make stupid mistakes. When setbacks happen, which they will, get back up, dust yourself off, and go back to work. Whatever your background is, you are here to succeed. The faculty and staff, which includes these wonderful men and women up front, they're here to help you succeed. Upperclassmen are here to help you succeed. Go forward believing in yourself, and you will succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dolly. All right. At this time, I would like to invite Drs. White, Dobby, Flaherty, as well as our Vice Dean, Mr. Peter Getz, to come forward and assist with the presentation of gifts for our guests. I would like to thank all our presenters, dignitaries, guests, faculty, staff, and our current students who assisted with the ceremony today. And I'd also like to extend a special thank you to our new students who did a fabulous job with their first test. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a white coat ceremony that was inspiring and motivating. Please stand at this time for the Retreat of Colors. Please remain standing for the departure of His Excellency, Mr. Charles Savre, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mrs. Savrin. So when the president of a country leaves, it takes just a few minutes to get the car, so that's why we're all still standing. It's intentional. So please remain standing for the departure of the Honorable Robert Tongue, who's representing the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Please be seated. At this time, we will invite our visiting dignitaries, visitors, and faculty to depart first, after which the ushers will escort the students out of the auditorium where you are invited to join us for refreshments.